Disney has lost its way. How is that, and why is that? Well, before you start going in the comment section down below and saying your hate comments saying, oh my god, how can you dislike Disney? I don't. In fact, I love most Disney films. I say most because, well, I'm personally not a massive fan of Disney princesses, although that might come as a shock to you. I'm joking, by the way. I hate them with a passion. But they have their good moments and they have their bad moments. Just that for me, I just don't really like the fact that there's a Disney princess that runs around with for some reason, magical powers that make no sense whatsoever in the entire world. No idea where they come up with the ideas, but on paper they're alright. Now, let's begin. Disney has lost their way. Now, when I say this, I'm looking at the three big ones. Marvel, Disney itself, as in Aladdin, you know, all those kind of films like that. And then you've got Star Wars. Yes, Star Wars is now owned by Disney, in case you've been living under a brick for the last probably around 8 years. I can't actually remember the exact date, but it sounds about right being 8. Now, when I look at this, I look at the most recent years, aka the last 6 or 7 years, and Disney has kind of changed massively since their original ideas to now. Now, this is obviously because of various different reasons, but today I'm going to explain exactly what happened, in my personal opinion. You might disagree with this, but this is my opinion. This is what I've seen over the last few years. Obviously, I have seen old films. I've seen new films. The new ones aren't as good. So, let's go straight back to the original Walt Disney era. You had stuff like all the original Disney princesses, aka Snow White, Cinderella, Beauty and the Beast. There are probably more. There are more. I just can't remember them because I don't like them. But they're the main ones I can think of. And they were all very impactful for audiences, mainly females, young and old, middle-aged as well. But they had their meanings. And they were, for their time, very, very, very good films. For now, if you are a massive fan of those films, then yes, they're very good. But in terms of today's like animation style and things like that, they aren't as good. Now, what happened with that side of Disney is that when they grew older, they decided to make remakes. We've seen this with The Lion King, Aladdin, Beauty and the Beast, Mirror Mirror is the Cinderella, I believe. It might be the Snow White. I can't really remember. I'm not a massive lover. But Maleficent is also the Sleeping Beauty side of things. I forgot about that one. They're all remakes in their own special way. But they don't picture the original intentions of the old films. Closely looking at mainly here The Lion King, because I actually like The Lion King. It is an original film, and it is a very good film in my opinion. Even the new one, I love. In fact, I kind of like it a bit more than the original, because it's my age of animation, whereas it's not the 1990s kind of style. It's my age. And it's very impactful, even the old one and the new one. But they're very much the same. There is no differences between the two in terms of what they are. There's this one scene, I can't remember when it is, but in the original, Pumbaa is the ball, and he's got an apple or something in his mouth, and he's covered in sauce and stuff for a distraction, so Simba can go and get to the main people at the front. Yes, that's a very light description of it, but that is what happened. And in the new film, he kind of did the same type of thing, whereas instead of him singing a song about the style, they did a Beauty and the Beast reference. And it's cheap. It doesn't really work. It doesn't really flow well with the rest of the film. Maybe because we know the song and what it actually means, it doesn't really represent what they're doing. The rest of the lyrics of that song do not correctly show that film. Now, don't get me wrong, Jon Favreau's version is very, very good, but it's not correct because the lines are realistic looking almost, but they feel cheap. They feel like they're just they're voice actors reading a script. This is not what they needed to do. They needed to make it so it looked realistic, that we believed that the lions were talking. Sure, we knew the voices behind them. You know, we knew that Beyonce was the voice of whatever her name. I haven't watched it for a while, but you know what I mean. Yet, we knew that. Yet, we wanted to believe it. We can believe it in certain films. There are major actors, like in the original Aladdin film. You know, we knew all the major actors in that film, yet we still believed they were talking. And it was them that were speaking, not the actors. Obviously, the actors were talking, we knew that, but you know what I mean. And this has also happened with Star Wars. They made remakes for the sequel trilogy. And when I say remakes, I don't necessarily mean that they just made direct copies. But if you look at episode 7 and watch it at the same time as episode 4, they are almost direct copies of each other. Same with episode 9 and basically episode 6. They are very, very similar in terms of their storyline. The only one that's different is episode 8, and we know what kind of flop that film was. But they tried, but they failed it because their writing wasn't up to scratch. But again, that's because they hadn't made many films, and they hadn't made any loose ends. They didn't give any chance for it to move on. Because we knew that it was going to be a trilogy, but they didn't open any doors. They kind of killed off every single possible character, other than 1 or 2. And that is not what you need to do. Every death in a film needs to be impactful. If you look at things like Marvel, in Endgame, every death of the main characters, obviously like Tony Stark, was very, very much impactful. The only side of Disney that I believe is actually up to scratch on what they need to be doing is Marvel, because every death they do of a main character now is very impactful. However, it wasn't always that way. Back in Age of Ultron, we saw Quicksilver, I believe his name is, and he died a very impactless death. And this isn't what they should have done. They should have given him a very good death, or just not kill him at all. It seemed like the only reason he was there was to get killed. And again, it's not the best. Now, Marvel is doing really well because completely different writers, and there's no kind of remake in there at all. There's nostalgic, but there's not remakes. In terms of Star Wars, though, a lot of the deaths are of our heroes, who we grew up with from the original trilogy. These are our characters, and they're just killing them off meaninglessly. This has no meaningful death between it. The only one I would say, kind of, is Luke Skywalker, and that wasn't really impactful because his whole arc in episode 8 was kind of bad. And what they used to do was really impactful stuff, like stuff with like the original films from Disney. For example, stuff like the original Lion King. They all had impactful deaths. And yet, in the modern era of Disney's films, there's meaningful deaths in remakes, but not in their new films, unless you're looking at Marvel. Which, in a way, isn't necessarily Disney as such, because it's their own company. Just bought out from Disney, or made by Disney. Yeah, bought out by Disney. They haven't made their own stuff. It's all made from other people, whereas Disney themselves have kind of lost all their ideas. They don't have their ideas they used to have back in the day when Walt Disney was alive, or when it was that kind of era. For example, The Lion King. Obviously, Walt Disney wasn't alive then, but it was still a very impactful age. And it seems like the only time Disney make really good films now are either remakes of old films, almost direct copies of those old films, just with a bit better animation and different voice actors, or if they pair up with Pixar. Disney, using this information, have indeed lost their way. What I would like to see is, if they want to make a remake, don't make a direct copy. They did this very well with things like Maleficent, because they are impactful. They are similar, but not the same, to their old films. And that is why Maleficent is kind of better than any other Disney film that they've made recently. So, taking out from this? What is there to take out from this video? 1, my hair is an absolute mess and I need a haircut as soon as they open. And 2, Disney have lost their way. So I would like to hear your thoughts. So in the comment section down below, as long as I remember to turn it on, please do let me know what you think about Disney and what they're like nowadays. Because I personally do believe that they have lost their way. They are no longer the original team. Obviously they're not, but it's almost like there's a completely different business. It's not the same. But anyway, thank you very much guys for watching. I will see you guys in the next one. Bit of a different video. I haven't done one like this for a while. I'll see you guys in the next one. Take care and goodbye.